months old. Do we know who's wanting to hold him first?
Don't care.
No matter?
Go ahead.
Alright.
Yes.
So I'll set it down. He's just little, but you can support him underneath his booty just with your little
Okay.
hands, and we just do nice slow pets just like this down his back.
Okay.
Sometimes he gets a little bit tight. Squeezing around us like a tree because that's what he's used to. His relaxed state is clamped down like this, so if he's gripping you a little bit too tight, it's not because he's meaning to, not because he's trying to be mean, it's just natural for him.
Okay.
If he does get too tight, all you have to do is tap his little hand and he'll loosen up just like that.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
I'll loosen up here.
Can I take pictures?
Yeah, take all the pictures you want.
Hey.
And he has been ravishly hungry lately, so he just took a big dump last night, so he is trying to replenish everything that he lost. Sloths only use the bathroom.
Growth spurt, is
Yes. They only use the bathroom once a week, so when you only go once a week, you expel a lot. So he is trying to make up from what he's lost.
You're so cute. They're surprisingly soft.
You can't tell on the pictures on
Yeah.
the internet.
Yeah.
I'm like, is there coat or fur, whatever, really rough
Yeah.
or what?
Yeah, it definitely looks a lot coarser than it actually is. But if you look at a sloth's hair under a microscope, there's actually a lot of little tiny micro cracks all throughout the hair.
Okay.
And that's what allows them in the wild to be able to collect that rainwater in their hair, and it helps to grow the moss and algae that grows all through their back. And they use that in the wild for camouflage to kind of
Oh, wow.
disguise themselves in the canopy of the rainforest. So it's pretty cool. See?
They're constantly moving a little bit.
Yeah. Where are you guys in from?
Knoxville.
Knoxville? Not too far. Just an hour south.
I got it. The follow thingies, I follow like 3 sloths.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The bracelets.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys have any other encounters here today?
No.
No, just this one? No. Well, this is definitely a great choice because he is only going to be small for so long and he'll grow up.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that we'll get another girl. We've got 3 sloths right now, Flash, Dash, Zoe, and then we'll get, our next girl will be Chloe.
Okay.
All the rhyming names.
Where do they come from? Where do you, do you all have a specific place that you get them from?
Yeah, so we have a breeder that's been doing it for over 30 years, and he has a lot of sloths that he takes care of and that he breeds. His Sloth Zero that started all of the breeding was a sloth from the rainforest that was injured that could not be returned back to the rainforest. So a lot of people that watch our lives for just a few seconds are disturbed that we're holding a baby sloth, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're going to mess up the ecosystem that's on their back. You're not supposed to take sloths from the wild. And these sloths have been further removed from the rainforest than we are from the Pilgrims first coming over.
Yeah.
It's been generations upon generations upon generations for 30 years that these guys have been bred in captivity to do just this. The guy that we get them from has an ambassador program that he runs. So he works with his babies from a very young age, conditioning them to enjoy being held by people and interacting with people.
Yeah.
And if they don't take to that conditioning and they would still rather just chill out on their own and not have to feel like they have to hold on to somebody, then that's fine. They just go to a facility that's only observation, and they're not going to be hands-on dealt with like
Like
that.
a zoo or whatever.
Yeah.
We've actually been to the Knoxville Zoo, but never been able to see
Yeah.
the sloth.
Yeah.
He's always up in his little,
Yeah.
hiding cubby thing.
Exactly. Yeah. But Flash, our old man, well, we say old man, but he's only 6 years old, so he's got a long life ahead of him. He lives there, and we got him from totally different. We got Dad and Zoe from. So they came from a breeder that has been breeding them to do this. And Flash came from a facility that's similar to a zoo. He was only observation before we got him. So it took John about 2 years of really working with him, going in there, talking to him, and slowly getting him to come down and be comfortable around him.
Is that the guy who was in here before?
Nope, that's Kevin.
Okay.
John, I'm not sure how to describe him.
The guy who was in here before is the one who I see on the TikTok.
Yeah, that's Kevin. He does all the social media stuff. But John, he's the owner, and then Donna is his wife. But yeah, it took him about 2 years of really just going in there and getting Flash used to him before he would even consider eating any food out of our hands.
Wow.
But now we've gotten him to the point where in the mornings he's pretty used to coming out, and he'll hang out on this branch and eat his breakfast before he goes back in. He goes back up to take a nap. So he's come a long ways, but he's never offered to climb on to any of us, and that's fine with us. We're not going to force anything like that. So we've offered it. If he's down low enough, we'll go over and walk. Stand next to him like, hey bud, you can climb onto me if you want. But he has not ever showed any interest though, and that's just fine. But the next baby that we get, we'll get from the same breeder that we got him from. And I always tell people that there is no reputable breeder in the United States that would sell a sloth to the general public. So when we got Zoe, she was our first baby, we went through rigorous questioning before he would even consider allowing us to have one of his babies, because we already had Flash, we knew how to, the things that go into owning a sloth and such, but we never had a baby, and she was 4 months old when we got her. So there's a lot of responsibility, big responsibility, and everything about a sloth is very, very sensitive, and you've got to be on top of things for everything to go just right, because this is not their natural habitat, obviously. So it stays a constant 78 degrees in here. We only open up their outdoors enclosures when it's warm enough to do so. Their sweet spot is from 78 to 85 degrees, and if it drops much below that, it begins to kill off the bacteria that's in their gut that helps them to digest their food. So a sloth can actually pass with a full belly of food just because they can't digest it.
Wow.
So
How much does he weigh?
he's about 4.5 pounds.
He's a lot.
He is.
He's just chilling on me. Does he have 2 or 3 longs?
2 in the front, 3 in the back. So he is a we say 2-toed sloth. That's the most common what you'll hear. But 2-toed sloth is inaccurate because they have 3 toes on their back feet, and the front feet is where they differ. So we're more so moving now to saying 2-fingered and 3-fingered sloths, because they are both. The 3-fingered sloths are harder to keep in captivity because their diets are a lot more sensitive. So in the wild, they eat the leaves of the sarcopia trees that they live in, and the 3-toed sloths can't really vary much from that. Obviously, this is not sarcopia leaves. This is a mixture of brown rice, shaved up sweet potato, and a really high quality soaked dog food for his protein. But he's good with that. So as we slowly transition them over, he'll go on to 2 hard-boiled eggs a week, and that will be his form of protein, and we'll slowly wean him off of this when he's about 2 years old. So, and a lot of other stuff goes into it too. So sweet potatoes, we've got squash, zucchini, some green beans, spinach, different things like that that they can eat. But the 3-toed sloths cannot. They can only eat those sarcopia leaves. So to own a 3-toed sloth, you basically have to be a millionaire and have a private jet to go bring you to and from the rainforest to get you the sarcopia leaves. And they obviously don't last that long, so you have to be going back and forth pretty often. It'd be similar to owning a koala, because we don't have eucalyptus trees that grow here.
I'm glad I like the smell of eucalyptus.
Yeah.
He's just chill, isn't
He's cute. I can't really see his face though. Now, is it true that certain number of toad sloths are like mean ones?
Not
Or
necessarily.
Does it depend on the sloth?
It all just kind of depends on the sloth. So when they're younger, they're a little bit more docile. Obviously, these guys, even when Dash gets to be old, he's still going to enjoy being held by people, because that's what he has been used to his whole life. It would be the difference between holding a house cat and a feral cat that you just found off the street. So that interaction would go completely different. But as far as species from between the 2-fingered and 3-fingered sloth, it's not the same. Now I will say that down in places that they're native to, in Costa Rica and Guatemala, they are facing a battle down there. There's a conservancy agency that is their job to tell people, don't touch sloths, don't hold sloths, don't take sloths, don't touch sloths, because down there you'll have a lot of cruise ships that come down and board, and when they get off, the natives see that as a way to make a quick buck. And they'll go out and try to find, their goal is to find a young sloth, even if it's a baby sloth, off of the mother's back, because those are going to be the ones that are most compliant. Unfortunately, they have that whole ecosystem that lives on their back in the wild, even from a young age, that doesn't look the best in pictures, so they'll oftentimes scrub all of that off. If they're unlucky enough to get an older sloth that's more aggressive and is going to try to bite people, they will pull that sloth's teeth. And after an event like that, the sloth's life expectancy is just a few hours to days. So it is very detrimental for them. And so a lot of people.
They're not on the endangered species.
Not yet. But our goal
close?
is that.
Is it close?
I'm not sure how close we are. I know that the two-toed sloth population is a lot higher than the three-toed because we are able to keep the two-toed in captivity. A lot of people are against that because they think that, oh, you shouldn't take sloths from their natural habitat, and we agree. Like I said, the first sloth that he got to start breeding with was an injured sloth that could not be returned to the wild. So it starts in ways like that. It would be the same. It's a conservancy effort that we're trying to do to keep these guys off of the endangered list. They're working in Florida right now to get some groves of the Cecropia trees growing down there, because if they're able to do that and make that a sustained growth down there, then we would be able to slowly implement the three-toed sloths into the United States.
That's encouraging.
Yeah. So a lot of people are against what we do here because they don't listen to the whole spiel that we give about how we're trying to conserve the species, not endanger the species.
You ever had any problems with PETA?
Not that I know of. I don't know of anybody that's gotten on there that's been that aggressive. But yeah, we do get some negative comments that are saying things like, I thought you weren't supposed to hold sloths. What are you going to do? And you're going to mess up the ecosystem that's on their back. You can tell he does not have anything on his back that's growing because he was born in captivity. He's not exposed to constant rainy weather that's going to accumulate on his hairs and get trapped and start to grow the algae and mold, everything like that on his back. And as he gets older, his adult hair will start to grow in, and he'll actually get a lot lighter than what he is right now. They turn on the cream color on their back.
That is so funny. You can't just turn around.
Why do they choose to start up the leaf blower when they know that I'm doing the counter in here? I have no idea. Sometimes scientists think that when they look upside down like that, that's actually their way of seeing it right side up. And when they're on their bellies, if they fall out of a tree or something, that's actually their upside down. And it makes sense because everything else that's in a sloth is geared to be upside down. Everything from their digestive tract, their circulatory system, and everything in between, how it's laid out inside is meant to be upside down. So
I stand up and
yeah, that's fine.
stuff out.
No, you're fine. That Splash's enclosure. He's probably all the way up in his hand right now.
He's just ripping my back and it's so cute. He keeps like tapping his mouth. Really?
So their eyesight is terribly horrific. They have a really, really narrow field of vision. You can see how dilated his eyes are. They stay like that all the time. So their vision is essentially like if you were to cut both your hands together and look through it like a telescope, that's all they see. They don't have any peripheral vision. They also have what's called broad monochromacy, and that means that they only have broad cells in their eyes and no cone cells. The cone cells are what's responsible for seeing color. So they are colorblind, but they can pick up motion very well, and that's due to the broad cells that they have. So they can see something moving in front of them really well, but they can't distinguish what it is. So he can't tell the difference between me or you, but he can smell the difference. Everybody has their own kind of, even if we don't have any cologne or perfume or anything like that on, we all have our own scents. They, on the other hand, do not have any scent glands, oil glands, completely weaned from the mother's own choosing. Test before they leave the facility to see if they do actually enjoy being held by people or if they just tolerate it. If it's known that they just kind of tolerate it and they're okay with it because that's what they've known since a very young age, then the breeder will opt to choose to sell that sloth to a facility that's going to be mainly observation and not so much hands-on like we do here. But if the baby displays that they do genuinely enjoy being held by people and it's shown through their body language that this is what they like to do, then they'll go to a facility like this where it's more hands-on. And Dash, he's a handful. So earlier I just had like 10 minutes to eat my lunch before you guys came in here. And so I was eating and he was in his basket and he's like trying his darndest to get out and get a hold of me. And so I finally let him climb onto me and I'm holding him on my hip here like a little baby and have this in my hand and I'm feeding him this and eating my food just because that's what he wanted to do. That's where he's most content. And if I were to pick him up and put him back in his basket, he'd start doing the same thing, trying to come out and get on me. Not because he's bored and he doesn't like to be in the basket. This basket is his second favorite place to be if he's not on one of us, because this is where he takes his naps. And sloths sleep upwards of 15, 16 hours a day, so they nap a lot.
So does she. She's a police officer, so she works weird hours. Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
That's
She's
okay.
not a cop.
Our babies did pass that final ambassador test, so we got to come here where they're loved on a lot more. It has been about 20 minutes if you guys wanted to switch or where you want to hold for longer than the half the time. It's up to you guys. I'll come get them if you guys want to switch over.
I don't.
Oh, yes.
What?
You jump?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, buddy. Come on.
No.
Just hold underneath his booty there.
Gotta let go.
When we first got him, he was about 4 months old. He was about half the size that he is right now.
Really?
And so he was so small that he would just hold on to our little arms right here, as he could not reach all the way around our torsos. But he was really, really small. And he did just go to the bathroom last night, so he is a little bit lighter than what what he usually is. And that's why he's so hungry too. You might be looking for some food. If you want to hold this bowl kind of close to his face right here, you might want to eat out of that. What do you think, bud? He says, oh, yeah. Just give me a sec.
There's my phone right there.
And you can move around too if you want to come over here and get some other angles, that's fine.
I cannot believe how soft.
He said, that's cute. They eat about 10% of their body weight every day.
Really?
Yeah, so it's a lot that they take in. Takes a long time to digest and takes just a few minutes to get it all out.
So everything is
Mhm.
slow about them.
Yep. Besides their poop, they get that out pretty quick. But when they build up about a third of their body weight that they're going to expel, it comes out pretty quickly though.
Wow.
And when they do go to the bathroom, they use the same tree, same side of the tree, into the same pile that they did the week prior. And that's because in the wild, even though these guys are generations upon generations removed from the rainforest and have been bred in captivity, it's still hardwired into them that that's what they're supposed to do. Because in the wild, they have a moth that lives throughout their fur that they have a symbiotic relationship with. Meaning that not only the moth benefits, but the sloth does as well. So the sloth has to make sure that when they go to the bathroom, they use the same pile, because those moths repopulate in the dung pile of the sloth. So they come down and lay their larvae, and the next week when the sloth comes back down, those larvae have developed into big enough moths that they can climb back up onto the sloth. And the sloth relies on that